In a world where tomorrow's blockbusters reign,
three millennials look back on our generation's classics.
Our generation's classics.
And remember. Hey everyone, welcome to Millennials the Movie House, the podcast where three friends watch our generation's beloved movies of yesterday and review them from our modern adult perspective. I'm Betsy.
I'm Tracy.
And I'm Serena.
And today we are talking about Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. Or Shrink,
Woohoo!
Which is the proper grammatical way to say that, but that's okay. Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
I Shrank the Kids. That's right. Why is it shrunk?
It would have been, Honey, I've Shrunk the Kids.
I have
shrunk the kids.
I have shrunken.
Or I shrank or I've shrunk.
Yep.
This needs to be our intro.
Well, I mean,
figure out proper
if you want to go into it, it was part of my fun facts. People like Disney was like, why the grammatical? And then like the director, I don't think they caught it one. And I think they made it up an excuse and was like, oh, it sounds better. And it's a line that Wayne says, so we just kept it, and it was on purpose. It was supposed to be funny, and you got it. That's how I read the fun fact, at least. I don't know if that's true.
I believe that. No, I believe it. I mean, it's one of those things where like if I hadn't said anything, would you have noticed? Like, it's
right.
It's one of the little grammatical issues that whatever. Anyway, 1989, written by people. Lots of people. Written by Stuart Gordon, Brian Yuzna, Ed Naha, and Tom Schulman. Directed by Joe Johnston. Starring Rick Moranis, Matt Frewer. Oh my God, this is going to be a long podcast, guys. Matt Frewer, Marcia Strassman, Christine Sutherland, Thomas Wilson Brown, Jared Rushton, Amy O'Neill, and Robert Oliveri. Okay. Quick synopsis. Serena, go.
Oh God. Here we go, guys.
Good luck.
All right. Serena's here. God, where do I start? Okay. Enter this scene. All right, everyone just put yourself in this place for a minute. Like suburban type home, family, some kids. The dad is a creator of some sort, like a
inventor.
Yeah,
crazy inventor.
And the kids get into his what is
laboratory.
That thing? Yeah, but it's like
a shrinking machine.
Yeah, the contraption that
a shrink ray.
The kids
this
get
is
into
Serena's way of making us actually do the synopsis.
It's like synopsis charades. You can't see her with the motions, but
yeah. So, anyways, the kids get into his contraption. They end up. He couldn't get it to work. The dad. The kids finally got to work accidentally by like the baseball bumping a button or something. I don't know. They got shrunk. They were shrank. The kids were shrunken. And the rest of the movie is just them trying to like navigate how they're gonna get back. I don't even know how they ended up in the front yard, but the blades of grass were huge. And somehow or other, the dad came home. He realized what had happened because the little couch was shrunken. And I don't even remember exactly how they undid it, but it was the children of that family and then the next door neighbor family, their two children. And they were all like kind of at odds at one point. And then this little journey kind of brought the kids together. And well, teens, there was a little young love in there. And and then somehow the dad fixes it, unshrinks them, boom, everything's fine again. And everyone's learned a life lesson of to be careful and to love each other.
I mean, until the next movie and then until the movie after that. But yeah.
And the TV show and one that they're going to reinvent, and they drag Rick Moranis.
Pulled Rick Moranis out of retirement. He's one of those guys where like, I don't know, everything I see him in, I'm like, yes, Rick Moranis. Like everybody loves Rick Moranis.
So I was surprised to find out that he wasn't the original like person to be choice. Like
Yeah.
I cannot picture this movie without him.
Yeah.
Like
what were the other what was the first choice?
So it was written for Chevy Chase after the director or whomever, right? Whoever saw one of the Lampoon movies, but he was filming one of the Lampoon movies, and
God.
Right, and was like, nope, can't do it. And then they asked John Candy, and John Candy was like,
that's
no,
right.
No, I don't want to, or some reason he couldn't do it. But he said, but what about this dude from Ghostbusters? I think he would be great. And they were like, okay.
Yeah.
John Candy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
anyway, great synopsis, Serena. Good job.
Yeah, I'm like, there was a dog in there too. I probably should have mentioned that too. I was actually
there was a dog in there. And how many of you, well, first off, sorry, Bets, I'm taking your job. Here you go. How many people, I mean, we've all seen this movie before, correct?
Yes, but I haven't seen it since I was a kid.
You're right.
Been many
years.
I actually don't think I've seen it. I thought I did. It may have been the second or third.
Oh, okay.
You know what?
I was shocked to find that it was 89.
I made a note saying that I remember the second one better than the first one. Honey, I Blew Up the Kid.
That was with the baby.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the one
I remember.
That's right.
I remember the reason I know that K is potassium and potassium is in bananas from Honey, We Shrunk Ourselves.
Yes. Allison Mack.
So
we were just talking about her the other day. That's so funny.
Yes. So that is true. So anyway.
Yep. So it's funny because, like when you think of like children's movies that have sequels, you're like, all right, the first one's good, maybe the second one's good, but then like whatever. 1, 2, and 3, like I have memories of watching.
They really made a franchise out of it, like a good franchise out of it.
They really did.
So sorry, back to the dog. How many of you as a child thought his name was Quark? Because I did.
Wait, what was it?
I knew it was Quark.
I didn't know what a quark was.
What is his name?
It's Quark. Quark. I don't necessarily, I knew it was like a scientific term. I didn't know what it was, but
did you think it was Cork?
I did.
That's what I thought too.
I mean,
I assumed it was Quark because I think I was watching Deep Space Nine at a much younger age than I should have. So I also had another character's reference point.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't like I discovered it today. But it took me, until probably my teens or something.
Yeah. It is a tough word, especially like it's not a good name for a dog.
No,
because it's kind of a hard word to say.
Yeah. It's like gets lost in your mouth. Quark.
Yeah. Quark.
Bark, quark.
Anyway, yeah.
Quark.
But
we have a lot
I'm sorry.
Of
you know what? I did not add Quark. He should have been on the list of cast because
he was vital.
Yeah, he was. He was
invaluable.
All right. Well, so Serena, you had never seen this movie. That's very interesting.
I thought I did. So it's so weird. I thought I had seen this movie. I think what had happened is I've seen the trailer to this movie. Mm-hmm. Has this ever happened to you guys where you see a trailer and you think, I've seen this. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then you go to see the movie and you're like, I haven't seen this. Mm-hmm. It was the trailer I was remembering. And actually it was either a second or third film that I had seen, the series, second or third movie I'd seen. And I had just assumed I'd seen the first one, but I couldn't believe it was 89. And honestly, like, guys, like, I felt pretty strong about the acting. Like, I think everyone was like,
right.
Like on their A game. Like nothing
the
felt
visual
forced.
effects.
Visual effects were solid. They were flying around the backyard on a bee, and I bought it.
It was believable, and I thought of Tracy because, like, her and her believability. If it ain't there, scratch the movie.
I think the only thing this time around where I was like, was the fight between the scorpion and the ant.
Okay.
However, it was very reminiscent of like, all I can think of is like the Godzilla type movies and I was like, I feel like it was a throwback to that. And I was like, you know what? I like this. I don't know what it is. It was scary.
It took me a little bit out of it. I will say I totally forgot about that. It did take me a tiny bit out of it because of course you guys, we as quote unquote adults, like we know that that's not real. But then the aunt died.
Okay.
And I don't know about you guys, but
I want to put that up there with the damn horse of that movie that I refuse to watch.
Okay, listen, I wrote down auntie equals our tax.
Dude,
and it was
you guys
all
are like
because
the same.
of Ron's attachment to that.
Yeah,
that hurt.
it was so sweet. And then I was like, oh my god, he's so sad. I was like, oh my god, the aunt's dead. And I'm over here like, all right, get yourself together, woman.
Let's imagine this was a real scenario for a second. Of all the characters to have to go through that emotional turmoil, it should not have been Ron, because he was just like coming out of his shell and not making everything a joke or passing everyone's the responsibility off to somebody else. He cared about this living being, and it probably messed him up for the rest of his life.
I know. Yeah, I know.
I don't know. I think it was good though because it did humanize him a little bit.
Yeah, fair.
But yeah, maybe he didn't have to die, and they could have just
later
like put him in like an ant farm type thing.
Yeah, he didn't die in vain. He saved them.
Well, and you know what's funny is when we were introduced to Auntie. I was like, oh my god, I totally forgot about the aunt. Why did I forget about the aunt?
That's why.
And then he died, and I was like, that's why I forgot about the aunt.
That's why I thought I had seen this, because of that scene. I swear that scene might have been in one of the trailers or the TV ads.
I mean, you may have like caught a scene here and there. It used to be on Disney all the time, I feel like. And I don't see it on TV anymore.
I think we all actually watched it on
syndication.
Nope.
VHS?
I definitely watched it on VHS.
VHS.
Yeah,
fair. I think I had it on VHS.
Because the opening, you couldn't really you could fast forward, but the opening scene, you actually had an animated short of Roger Rabbit.
Yeah, I saw that, and I was thinking,
my god,
which is also on Disney Plus, and it's 8 minutes long. And I suggest that you watch it because I was like, I don't think I've seen it. I've definitely seen this.
Yeah,
of Roger Rabbit.
Mm-hmm. Roger Rabbit and Baby Herman and Jessica Rabbit.
Yes. Oh my god, that's amazing.
So Roger Rabbit came out in 1988. Who Killed Roger Rabbit?
Yeah.
And this short, it was called Tummy Trouble, I think. Yep, Tummy Trouble and this was the this was the film to relaunch the animated shorts. And there hadn't been one since the 60s.
Nice. Interesting. Speaking of animated, Tracy, I made a note about the opening credits.
Yeah. Yep.
I knew it. Like the second I was like, oh, that's Tracy. That's Tracy's comment right there.
Maybe I'm confusing the animated. No, because I have a note that said animated shorts, but it was also the first one in a while to do that too. But it reminded me of The Parent Trap, which we watched, right?
Yep.
And Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead.
Yep. But it's interesting that I don't know, I feel like this movie is kind of, I hate saying the phrase, but fallen into obscurity a little bit.
It is. And it could have been a flop too, because it came out the same week or same day as Batman. And they actually credit Batman for helping this movie, because all the people who got in line to see Batman and couldn't see it because it filled out was like, well, we're here. Let's go see this movie. So this is the runoff of Batman. And then you realized, oh, wait, this is actually a good movie.
I also wonder if, and I don't know if anybody else did this when they were kids, but the parents would go to one theater and the kids would go to a different theater.
Yeah. Yep.
I feel like
this
is a perfect one for parents to go to Batman. Yep. Yeah.
And I also think it's a movie that is a family movie. It's good for multiple generations.
It is. I definitely picked up more on more things as an adult. First off, speaking of, I did not realize the parents were having a rough patch in this movie. I never picked that up before.
Yep. It was that phone call at the beginning.
I never got that either.
It was all Amy. It was all Amy. She, and then like later on, she like checked in with them.
Yes. Yeah. Oh yeah. She was a good daughter. She was a good daughter. She was a good sister.
Yep.
Yeah.
So speaking of the marital spats, you could see that he did apologize. He said he got lost and he must have quit his job to do this, because later he goes, I'm sorry. When I get just, my head like on one thing, I get distracted.
I don't know if he quit his job, but I got the sense that she was the breadwinner while he was like basically chasing his dream.
Yes.
And she was hitting the end of her ropes.
Right.
Because he hadn't been successful.
Because he then goes, I'll get my old job back because like,
Oh, okay.
Gotcha. And that was part of this whole thing.
Got you.
But I'm glad you said that, because she was the breadwinner, at least for this time period. And I have it as the working mom issue. Is she was the breadwinner and was still expected to keep the house and keep the kids and everything like that.
I got that vibe also. I totally didn't remember them having issues. I think I was too young when I even saw like the scenes for it.
Because even like, granted, I will give him that he was gearing up for this conference or whatever he was doing. So he hadn't cleaned the house that day. But then she comes home and she's like, oh, where are the kids, or something to the effect of like, oh, the house is, and he's like, yeah, that's why that's why they clean the house. And she just looked, and then later when she's literally like on the phone looking for her missing children, cleaning the house.
Yeah.
And so
that said, I was very surprised. So when he's running out the door to the conference, Amy is like, oh, don't forget to pick up my dry cleaning and don't forget to go to the store and blah, blah, blah. And he did all those things. I was actually really, really surprised that
he's not quite as absent-minded. Yeah.
I thought about that too, you guys. I was like, okay, man's on his A game a little bit here.
Anyway. Okay. All right. Let's take it a step
back.
Was
like, I know that was our adult and 2022 perspective looking at the family, like,
the family dynamics.
Yeah.
It is impressive for what could have been just a silly kids movie. You really got the impression that this was a real family. And I really like that.
A lot of the older movies did that though. They made them relatable. Whereas a lot of the kid movies nowadays are just very fluffy.
Surface. Yeah.
Depth, man. You need depth.
Well, depth and
it makes it more believable.
Goes back to what Serena said, or was it Serena or Tracy?
Relatable.
The acting was A game acting, and part of that believability really came down to the way that they chose to do some of their acting styles. Russ, especially, I don't know what it was, but little Russ, and Big Russ actually. But little Russ, the way he was acting, it was a very natural form of acting. You could tell he wasn't really putting a lot of effort into, or it felt effortless.
Yeah.
But that made it felt very realistic. I honed in on that this time around. And I never honed in on that when I was a kid.
But they felt like real kids. And like their actual ages, where nowadays, I don't know if it was just the way they were dressed or something. They're so adult, and like, not their
Amy was such that, like, she was going through an awkward phase, but she was still a popular girl, and she just wanted to like go to the mall with the boys, but it was very believable, and she was a little clumsy and a little nervous, but they just turned it out.
And little Russ was going through his own awkward phase where he's like, I'm not made out for the football. I don't know what I am. I think they were trying to make him a little bit like of that. Like, I feel like he would play music or something.
I was going to say almost like hippie or grunge. Like, it was pre-grunge.
Yeah.
If it was a few years later, he would have been a grunge kid. I was fascinated by his dynamic with his father. I remember when I watched this movie a million times when I was little, and kind of, I don't want to say I tuned out, but like I kind of was like, all right, let me get 20 minutes in and, and then the adventure begins.
Yeah.
But now me was like, oh my God, the way they are choosing to develop these characters and these relationships, I love.
Yep.
I actually think Big Russ, his father, is actually a good father. I think because yes, he was pushing his hobbies on his son, but the fact that he was like, okay, you don't like football, you don't like weights, tell me what you like. Just the fact that he asked that question, I was like, good on him. Yep. You know what? Fine.
Yep.
Yep.
I even like the way that they portrayed Nick, and obviously he was like the mini-me and the geek, but he still stood his own.
He had a spine. Yes,
he did. And I was like, he could stand up to Ron.
Yes.
And he could stand up even to his sister. And even like, he's like, yeah, I'm smart, but I'm also like funny and I get it. And
you can't see it, but I am nodding my head vigorously because I absolutely agree with that.
Yeah.
I was I loved that he was, he had comebacks for Ron.
Yeah.
Instead of being that nerdy kid who was
being
afraid a victim
or something. Yeah. He was just like, he stood his ground. He's like, I don't care that I'm this way. You're an idiot. And he did. He had that like comeback. That's like, the one quote I took is like not even an important quote, but Amy goes, I don't think we're in Kansas anymore, Toto. And he goes, I don't think we're on the food chain anymore, Dorothy.
Yeah.
Like it just summed up their relationship. Like he had the quips, he had the like.
Yeah, she was very motherly to him, but at the same time, he was, the reason that she was protective of him was because he was almost mature beyond his years. Like he didn't know, he was too smart for his own good. That was that's the phrasing I want to use for him. Speaking of Ron, I made a note about his character. He is a more extreme Dennis the Menace and less extreme Sid, but in different ways.
Okay.
Oh my God.
I like that.
Oh my God. I never even thought about that. Dennis the Menace.
He was a child actor. And he played the same kid. He just played himself, which I appreciate.
Yeah.
But he was the same kid in Big. He
and
was
Overboard.
And Overboard. That was
Well, it's funny because I looked him up and I looked up Little Russ, and they both have child pictures on IMDb.
Yeah.
But I think at least Little Russ is still working.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, all right, dude, update your photo.
But I mean, to his credit, that's what we're looking at him for. You know what I mean? Like,
True. I want to go back to the father one more time.
Okay. Which one?
To say, I'm sorry, the father, Matt Frewer, the Johnson's father. Johnson or Johnston?
Johnston.
The director was Johnston. Thompson. It was Thompson.
You could have convinced me.
Big Russ. He had amazing comedic timing.
Yeah.
Everything out of his mouth was meant to be funny, even if he didn't mean for it to be funny.
Yep.
And I loved it. And he had my attention from the first moment. And it was just good. It was just really good. So they all brought something different to the table, which created a really dynamic cast.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
All right.
Question.
Yep.
So I know you needed like two storylines of what the two families were doing and why they were home or whatever. So you had like the whole like,
I think I know where you're going with this.
Mom
question.
was doing this, or the mom was the real estate agent and was looking for her kid. She went to the mall to look for her kid, so she was like kind of absent. And then the crazy, father went to the conference or whatever. And then the other side, the other family was packing for a fishing trip.
Yeah. Camping trip.
Camping.
Because they were moving their entire freaking house into this camper. I never noticed that as a kid, but as an adult, I was like, oh my God.
They were bringing
because first off, the first indicator that they were like really going camping was that he had a list and he was counting the microwave meals, the frozen meals. So first off, it was a fishing trip. They had no intention of eating whatever they were going to catch. Like they had food at the ready. But then, skiing, they had all of the water equipment, all of the water equipment.
I mean, everything.
Microwave. I'm pretty sure there was like
the
a TV.
Yep.
Oh my God.
It was, I was like, every
hilarious.
scene that they were in the process of moving something into the camper.
Yeah.
And first off, all I could hear was my mother in my head, because we would have been packed up the night before and we would have left by 7.
Oh my God, that's all I could think this entire time. I'm like, they are not rushing. They are taking their time. They are wasting their entire Saturday. Their entire Saturday for this.
The mother, which totally confused me. She went grocery shopping.
Grocery shopping
the day of, which is fine if you need like whatever to put on. But then she brought like this entire fruit bowl into her.
Yes.
Like, that's fine if you want like milk or something like to be there when you get home.
Yep.
But fruit goes bad after 2 hours. So
I thought that she was putting it into like a cooler that was then going to go into the camper.
I guess
still, I was like, what is happening with this?
I'm like, they needed her to do something. So they're like, just give her a grocery bag. It's fine.
I think it was like by the last thing that they were moving in, I was like, this is a joke. They're making fun of themselves basically by putting the amount of crap that they're putting into this camper.
God. It's funny because this time I did pay attention to like that had nothing to do with anything. It was basically to give them some action to do something,
to get them out of the house, in and out of the house.
It was so funny. So funny. And like, I think like that's where his comedic timing came in too.
Yes.
Because the way he carried something, the way he said something, you were just like, brilliant. Speaking of Big Russ, what did everybody think of the hat at the end?
It was his comeuppance, I think, for the whole. I never picked up on this whole sub theme of size when it comes to little Russ. I didn't catch that when I was a kid. And I think it was so weird because little Russ didn't seem little to me for his age.
I didn't think of him as uncool either because Amy was like, why didn't you ever come over? He had like his collar popped and like good looking, and he kind of had like nice hair for what was it, 89, not early 9, you know what I mean? I'm like,
his day 2 hair looked better than his day 1 hair is all I'm saying. But
like
our only indicator our only indicator that she was cool and he wasn't was them saying, oh, she's cool and he's not.
Well, and then he got kicked off, or did he quit football or quit football too? Yeah. But yeah, I think, because I read into this controversy because the whole like the hat didn't fit, and the hat I think was a Giants hat. Is that? Oh, I thought it was a fishing hat.
I thought it was a fishing hat too.
You couldn't really read it, but somebody said it was the Giants, and it was yet another homage to he's big, they're small, he gets big or small or whatever it is. And but when he takes off his hat, he's supposed to be quitting smoking.
Yeah.
And when he takes off his hat, his cigarettes were on top of his head. And Sheets removes them. The wife removes them. So when he puts back his hat on, it doesn't fit because the cigarettes weren't there.
Oh my God, that's right.
That it was the brim of the hat that wasn't fitting.
Fair.
But I didn't think of the cigarette. And also the cigarettes were like completely flat when she looked at them.
Also true.
But yeah, no, I read it as like that, he's going to be just a little bit shorter. And so that he, that's his consequence.
Yeah.
Anyway. Okay. Whew. Okay. Oh, the tangents we just went on.
I know. I'm like, I don't.
Okay. I have one last question and then that's all of my notes.
Okay.
So I think what we're missing saying so far is the adventure that's in the middle. Like we did all like the emotional stuff, but the kids really truly went on this adventure. And it was a visual adventure too, because they were what, a quarter of an inch? Is that what they said they were? I think they were a quarter of an inch.
That sounds right.
Because they were riding an ant.
Yeah.
And they slept in a Lego.
Yes.
And they were eating that giant cookie and
I purposely don't pay attention to the consistency of the sizing because I feel like that would annoy me.
Oh yeah,
and I think that they did a pretty good job, honestly.
No, I think they did too. And I think the reason they did a pretty good job is when they were building all of these things, I think they did a direct ratio.
Yeah.
And they even have Nick at the very beginning have a calculator in his pocket and like calculate how big things are and how big they are.
3 miles or something.
Yeah. So like, I think they had the math down.
Yeah.
Having said all that, did anybody have a favorite like giant little thing?
Little thing? Like, are you talking about like
the grass,
when everything was big? Yeah,
the grass slide, so the bee, the pollen, the water. But anyway, continue.
Okay, so my favorite big little big thing. Big little thing, little big thing. I always thought that the cigarette actually was really cool. I mean, as an adult, I'm like, secondhand smoke, get away. But when
it was a little bit scary too. Like, it was kind of like
when
glowing.
He goes and lights up the that lamp from a prop perspective, that lantern, that lamp, that torch
ash
he ends up with, it visually is just so cool. So I'm gonna go with that. I'm gonna go with the cigarette, actually.
Okay. Serena, did you have a favorite part?
I like the dog. How I forget Cork.
Yes.
He like almost hears them. Right. At what point they're like clinging onto his fur or something, going for a ride or something like that. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know.
I
mean, that's the cover of the movie is them walking off the nose.
You're supposed to assume that the dog is doing everything purposely. He at the beginning, he's trying to alert the father. He's trying to, he knows that they're shrunken and that they need help. Tracy, what was yours?
I don't.
Why are you gonna ask the question?
I know.
Answer. Come on.
I probably the cookie, because it was a huge cookie.
Yep.
And I don't know if this is true, because a lot of the things, it took them 9 months at least to construct all of the things that they needed, and they were like saying how Nikki is really swimming in, it wasn't milk, but it was like a water with like some thickener in it or something, and with these big tractor tires that they painted and whatever, which I thought that was really cool. But I think the cookie, I mean, obviously they had cream and stuff that they could interact with, but I think that was the only one that was forced perspective. And I read that somewhere, and I think that was what they had said. And I was like, that's interesting.
Or they at least incorporated forced perspective to drive it home. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So
I have one more comment about giant things. The raindrops and subsequently the raindrop mud puddle that she ends up with always absolutely disgusted me. Yeah. And as an adult, it still absolutely disgusts me.
I'm pretty sure that's covered just in mud, but the P River earlier is always what I have in my brain.
It's not even what it's supposed to be. It's the fact that it's very clearly not water. Whatever they're using, it was like a thick, some sort of something.
Yeah.
Slow moving liquid.
Yeah. It was just the sound combined with what was very clearly not water. It was just so disgusting. It was so disgusting to from a visual and audio perspective.
Betsy's like, I have like a tactile issue with this.
Yeah.
No, I remember having issues with that too. Like it was disgusting.
Yeah. Is it like my issue?
It was like slime. It was like slime.
Yeah. That's so funny because you remind me of my last note that I didn't say is sexy CPR.
French class kid.
Let me tell you, I did not even though they like went right over my head.
No idea what that meant when I was a kid. I knew I was missing something.
Yep.
But I did not know what it was.
Like French class. And I'm like, it was that funny that we're bringing it back and I still don't understand.
Yeah. I fully remember not understanding that joke as a child.
But CPR, like Sandlot has sexy CPR. And like, it's always like,
that's right. Yep. CPR is the life-saving thing that adults writing movies think kids know.
Yeah. Oh gosh, I just keep finding notes because my stream of consciousness. Did you recognize Gloria? Gloria was the fisherman's friend's
hang on
girlfriend.
I got it. I know who she is. She is Cassie.
Very good.
From Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead.
Very good.
Oh, I was wondering, I'm like, why does she look so familiar? And how do I know her? And then I'm like digging back into the psyche. I'm like, I don't
that
know.
man is flying.
I want to go back to the scorpion ant fight. What?
That scorpion was terrifying.
Why? I never questioned this as a child. Why is there a scorpion in the backyard?
Yeah, what the hell? Where are they? Arizona?
Right. Like they never explained why there's a random scorpion in the backyard. And that's just weird. That's all. I had to make that comment.
It had to be a scary land bug.
Well, that's fine. But all they had to do was like a throwaway line where Ron could be like, "Oh, I lost my scorpion a couple weeks ago." Something.
Yeah.
Anything.
Yeah.
I was thinking that too, where like, oh, it was Ron's, but no, because I don't think Ron could have had the emotional capacity to
make it Tommy's.
That's true. Okay, like that would have been yeah. Tommy's would have been good.
Just they never explained it. That was my only thing. That was the only thing they didn't explain.
Yeah.
Did you know that you could now buy a remote control lawnmower?
I know. I saw that. I was like, "Aw, if only they were in 2022." And then the other 2022 thing was, they were texting, quote unquote, texting, between the kitchen and the attic. And she goes, "Up, he's talking with his gloves on again." I'm like, I feel that. Yeah. I've been on the receiving end of those typos where you have to like,
or the type to text or whatever it is. Yep.
Because all right, let's take a step back for a second and revert to our tried and true questions, because I know we talked about our favorite little big thing. Did anyone have a favorite general thing?
I liked that. Can I say I liked the relationship between the budding young romance of what's her name and what's his name?
Amy and Little Russ.
Yeah, they were so cute. He was adorable, you guys. Oh my God. I was like, you guys, if I was like, 12 years old again.
First off, it was an age appropriate, awkward romance.
Yeah.
Beginning.
Believable. There we go with totally the believability again.
Yep.
I found it really interesting the way they chose to develop the relationship amongst the four.
Yeah.
Because Amy was very protective of Nick. Russ was a big brother to Ron. So there were moments where he was annoyed, but there were also moments where he was worried for Ron.
Yep.
So you had that. The tension they chose was between Amy and Ron, which was an interesting.
They immediately separated the siblings and had, instead of the romance couple and the two young kids, it was Amy and Ron. Yeah. And you would like, that's not a natural coupling.
Right. Right. And Russ had to play big brother to Nick, but different in a different way because Nick was younger than Ron.
Yep.
Yeah.
I was smart because you had the budding romance and then you had the younger kids that were kind of friends, not really, but like they kind of were. So that was and then you had the sibling pairs.
Yep.
And then that was the other. I approve.
I totally approve too. It was not lazy writing. The writers were like, let's do this right. Let's make this an interesting dynamic, foursome. And they did.
Absolutely.
I totally approve.
My favorite part, and this is just from this sitting, I love this movie. I think it was brilliant.
So great.
I love all the little things and the
attention,
the creativity.
To
the creativity had for all the little things. I liked when Amy was dancing when she was mopping.
Yes. Oh my God.
I thought it was a cute little scene. Like I do that. I dance while I'm cleaning the house and playing songs or whatever. And it immediately it was very 80s.
It was.
It reminded me of Adventures in Babysitting. Do you remember that movie where she's like,
yes,
and then he
the
kissed
opening
me,
scene when
and
she's
like
singing,
dancing in the bedroom and stuff. That was just very, and then it kind of came up again when he's like, oh, so you like to dance, that kind of like flirty, like between the two of them.
I asked the question and I didn't have an answer. Actually, before I say my favorite part, Tracy, I'm surprised your favorite part was not the same favorite part you had for Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, which was all the random inventions in the house.
Oh my God.
That was my yes, I did like those.
I figured.
I was thinking about that. I was like, somebody's gonna like really appreciate this. Like I did too, but like I think I was getting like, Tracy's gonna love this.
Like the dog getting the tree and
which a dog should not have control over the tree, his tree.
Right. But in retrospect, now that I think of both Chitty Chitty Bang Bang and this, who has the fancy feeder for their cats?
You
that would be your gadgetry.
And who has the black and white cat clock that goes back and forth?
I saw it and I was like, classic. That is Tracy right there in a nutshell. Also shout out to little kid inventor trope.
Yes,
that we know and love.
Except that this was believable.
Yes,
compared to like
father was an inventor,
and he was actually smart.
Right, he was like a genius. He was like a young Sheldon kind of character. My favorite part might be the contraption that the father creates in order to look at the grass. And
classic.
That was so funny.
Not even when he's doing it by himself, but when he is balanced with his wife.
Yep.
And they're just kind of going in a slow circle.
Yep.
Brilliant. Love that. That was physical comedy at its finest. I'm here for it.
Yep.
And that, I mean, I think Serena said the attention to detail. There was so much to look at in this movie. You really have to. Yeah. I remember I mean, I watched The Slut yesterday. And again, it was the first time in a very, very long time. And I sat down and I was like, all right, am I going to pay full attention to this? Am I going to be like kind of on my phone? Am I going to just come in and out? I was like, within 5 minutes, I was like, nope, I am paying full attention to this movie.
Same. Yeah. Same. I was like, okay, I know this movie. Like, I know this enough of this. I can chat about it without actually watching it. So I'm just going to have it on basically in the background. And I was glued to the television.
Glued to the
same.
Yeah, right.
Same,
like not like I had to do it, but I wanted to do it. I could not help but watch this.
Yeah.
I paused when I had to write a note. That was how into it I was. Yep. So martini shot then, guys. Would you recommend this movie?
Yes,
absolutely. And like you said, Bets, I am afraid if it's gonna go into obscurity, because this is a great movie.
It is a great movie.
All ages.
I liked it.
A little bit scary, but not too scary.
The franchise is, you hear about the franchise. I don't know. I haven't seen this movie on TV in years. So I wonder what the accessibility or, perceived accessibility about it of it is. Mm-hmm. I want this movie to stay around. It is solid. It is solid.
It really is.
Good movie. Good movie choice. Good job, Spinner.
I was guys, I my hopes were so low with this because I was thinking and remembering it as like a crappy movie. No. And then as I was watching it, I was so pleasantly surprised. I watched this like pretty late. Like I was tired and I did not fall asleep. It passed the Serena sleep test.
The Serena sleep
test. Yeah, it passed the Serena sleep test after probably 9:30 p.m. and I was on my cozy couch. So I mean, it could have gone either way here.
No, I knew I have full trust in Rick Moranis. If a movie has Rick Moranis in it, it's going to be a fun time. It's going to be a good movie. All right, so on to our favorite part of the evening. Halloween Town.
Oh my God, yes, I love that movie.
You know what? This is probably perfect because it's going to be coming out probably around Halloween.
I think it's going to line up with Halloween. That is funny. Queen. And this is going to be our second DCOM.
This will be
okay. All right. Thanks for joining us. If you like what you hear, you can find more great episodes over on our website, www.millennialsofthemoviehouse.com, or wherever you find your podcasts. Curious about updates, extras from our episodes, or want to add your 2 cents about a reviewed movie? We're also on Twitter and Instagram. Our handle for both is @themoviemillies. Check us out and make sure to follow us. So until next time,
We're millennials.
And we'll see you at the movie house.